Hello again guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and today I'm going to be starting a new series which is basically going to be all about reselling 101. So in this series I'm going to be making a whole bunch of videos, and basically I'm going to break down each sort of basic component of reselling, essentially the listing process, everything from a title, which I'm going to talk about today, to what needs to be in your description, what needs to be included in your photos in your listing, how to check for flaws on an item, how to take measurements on an item, all that kind of really basic stuff. Essentially, if you're new to reselling or thinking about getting started in reselling, then this may be the series for you. Real quick, if you are new to my channel, welcome. This is a channel all about reselling online, as you can probably tell so far. I personally sell on eBay, Etsy and Poshmark, and I do that while being a stay-at-home parent, so this is a secondary income for my family. It's allowed us to pay off debt, and now it goes towards things like vacations, things we're saving for, investments, all that kind of cool stuff. On this channel, you're going to find everything from haul videos to sales videos, tips and tricks and how-tos like this video and this series right here, day in the life, and all kinds of other fun stuff in between. So if that sounds interesting to you, please do think about hitting that subscribe button down below, and don't forget to say hello in the comments so that I can say hi back. If you're new to reselling or you're thinking about getting started in reselling, this video hopefully will give you some nice basic foundation of how to construct a title so that it is effective when it comes to SEO, search engine optimization, hopefully getting your title towards the top of searches, and then also, you know, allowing your buyers to find the items that they're looking for when you have them, because you have the right keywords in your title. Like I said, I sell on eBay, Poshmark and Etsy, so all of those titles tend to be a little bit different because we have different amounts of characters allowed. And I'm going to kind of start as though it's an eBay title, simply because that is how I start my process. I list something on eBay and then I cross-post to my other platforms. And what I do when it comes to Poshmark and Etsy is I basically take the title that I'm going to describe to you here, and then I edit it to fit within those characters, and so that I keep the most important information or add information where needed and where possible, so that hopefully my buyers again can find those items easily. I start with brand because that is one of the primary ways that somebody is going to search for an item. Chances are they are going to be looking for a specific brand to buy, and then all of the other information and details about the item will more than likely be secondary to that, depending on what they're looking for, what they like. Of course, size matters, and I do include size in my title, which I'll hit on a little bit later, but also that is something that you put in all of the little drop-down menu components of your listing. So chances are, again, it's already going to be filtered by size by your buyer according to what exactly it is that they are looking for. So I'll put my brand. Now, if it's a vintage item, I'll put vintage at the beginning. Quick disclaimer, this is how I do titles. Everybody sort of has different opinions on what needs to be included, what is necessary, what is not necessary, and we all have different ways now, like habits and all that kind of stuff, the way that we choose to do things. I like to keep it fairly streamlined, so I have an outline of how I do my title, which obviously I'm sharing with you today, and that way I know exactly what I'm typing, exactly how my information goes in my title, and it works pretty well for me. So that is what I'm choosing to share with you today, just so you know. So brand, I may put vintage. Now on eBay you can put VTG, which obviously like shortened for vintage or whatever, and the search engine will recognize that as vintage, so that's going to save you some characters, which is really important. If I know the specific era as well, say that it's an 80s or a 90s piece, I may put VTG and then the brand, and then at some point either right afterwards or a little bit further down I may put like 80s or 90s, because sometimes people do use that as a sort of search tool for something that they are trying to find, you know, narrowing down by decade and era. Next thing that I usually put in is color. I usually keep this pretty darn simple because color is subjective. So I'm not really going to go too far into describing the color as like, you know, royal blue or cobalt blue, because somebody may get my item and say this is not at all what I would consider a cobalt blue and I want my money back, and it's really hard to defend a case because, like I said, completely subjective. So I pretty much would call it a blue or a dark blue, keeping it real simple, but again being conscious of those characters. So if dark isn't necessary, if it shows that it's a dark blue in your photographs very obviously, I would leave that out of my title, and I would maybe go ahead and add that detail into my description instead. Next thing I would hit on is print. So maybe it's an animal print, maybe it's striped, anything like that I would probably put in. So I would have, you know, my brand, I would have the color, and then I would have the print right after it. So we're building a title like this, maybe J. Crew blue striped and on we go. If you're wondering about different tips as well to find out the name of prints, I suggest Pinterest is a really good free tool to go ahead and do some exploring. You can literally put in like names of prints or something like that into the search bar, and it will bring up all kinds of interesting infographics and informational sheets where you can start to look at different prints and start to learn the technical names of those as well. So next I'm going to say something about the style. This could be something like the neckline, maybe it's a V-neck, maybe it's a cowl neck, maybe it's a sheath dress, maybe it's a shift dress. Anything like that that is really a defining factor to the style of the piece is what I'm going to mention next. So let's build our title. J. Crew, blue, striped, sheath dress. And again, the next part is going to be garment type, so whether that's dress or top or skirt, sweater, sweatshirt. Be mindful of the difference between sweatshirt and sweater. Most people do know this, I'm sure, but I personally made this mistake when I was starting out, so I'm going to share it with you anyway. A sweater is knit. A sweatshirt is like more of that kind of athletic material, like you're not really going to see the weave. I think you probably know what I'm saying here, but make sure that you stay true to what the garment type is, because otherwise you may get a disgruntled customer. Okay, the next thing that I choose to include in my eBay title is gender. So you do not have to do this. Obviously you already usually define it within the drop down menu, but if I have the space, and again this is something that gets thrown to the side if I don't have the space, if something else is far more important design wise on the garment to include. But if I do have the space, I will usually say either women's or men's or unisex in my title. The next thing is size. Again, some people say that you don't have to include this. I choose to always include it. Poshmark, if I have space, I'll include it at the end of the title, but otherwise I don't, because again those drop down menus and people filter very much by size on Poshmark as well. So far title we have J. Crew, blue, striped, sheath dress, women's, 10. Oh, it's like that game you played when you were a kid where it's like you had to remember all the components and keep saying it back. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. This is how the title is being built, nice and simple. And the very last component I'm going to share with you is what I call extra. So for me, this is like if there is a shortening of the brand that is commonly used. So for instance, White House Black Market is often referred to WHBM, or Not Your Daughter's Jeans, NYDJ, and people do actually search by those terms as well. So if I have space at the end of my title, I'll include those right at the end. Again, era or decade. If I have space at the end of my title, sometimes I'll just kind of stick it on the end as well, 80s, 90s, something like that. Or if there is a term that is specific to my piece, like if it's a pin-up piece or a retro piece, I may put the word pin-up at the end, or I may put like VLV for Viva Las Vegas. Again, people search by that to find like retro pin-up type like style clothing. Essentially, if there is an extra term or descriptive word that I think could enhance my search engine optimization, and I have space at the end, I may just stick it on the end for good luck. Never waste a character. If you can help it, try and use all of those characters, because it's going to do nothing but help you as people look for items like yours. And that's it basically. Like I said, when it comes to Poshmark and Etsy, I end up adding a lot of different things because the title is way long. I think it's like 50 characters. Poshmark, it is way shorter, so I have to edit it right down, but I make sure that that brand is in the title, because you can't always see brand on Poshmark when you're first scrolling through, so I want people, if it's a good brand, to see exactly what it is. I do want to mention the color. I think that is usually very important, and then I do want to mention like print and style, and then obviously things like it being women's or size and things like that. They usually are not particularly relevant on Poshmark because of the way the search is constructed, but if I have a character on the end, I may put like, you know, size 8 or whatever on the end. Alright, so that's the basics. I hope that that was helpful. Stay tuned for the rest of this series where I cover lots of different components about constructing listings and getting started in reselling, taking it way back to the basics, and hopefully that will help some of you out there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe if you would like to see more, especially in this series, and I will talk to y'all in the next video. Bye you guys.